Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Customer News. I'm Rafer Weigel.
And I'm Mike Giambattista. Rafer, let's talk about headlines.
All right, our first story. A recent survey shows despite investing in MarTech, marketers are not often as equipped to build CX at scale. On average, marketing leaders lose 30 to 40% of their time on manual work to make their stacks work. Mike, that seems kind of counterproductive. What's your take on that?
First, the cloud solutions were going to be the universal marketing panacea, but those promises have largely fallen short. Then the adjacent technologies and bespoke tech ecosystems were going to lead us all into the marketing promised land. But it turns out all that tech requires an incredible amount of managing and reconciling. The point is, unless your data can be assimilated across the entire marketing stack, you're going to be investing in man hours, potentially lots of them, to make things work. Data governance, data portability, and cross-function data syncing are key.
Only half of companies that have mature AI check the fairness, bias, and ethics of their platform. And the risks of unexpected outcomes or predictions, a whopping 71%. But despite the potential for AI to basically do more harm than good, most executives don't seem to be too concerned about the former. Mike, what's your take on this?
I think this is a function of the maturity of AI being deployed so quickly and so broadly. Plus, the idea that AI could produce biased or unethical results is a fairly new one. I think we'll see this number go up over time as AI technologies become more ubiquitous and as companies become more aware of the potential drawbacks.
Well, get this. An article in Forbes says the ACLU, which has been rallying against Facebook, even taking them to court, is apparently guilty of the very thing that they've been rallying against, actually giving Facebook, of all platforms, names, email addresses, and phone numbers. Mike, apparently the ACLU has egg on its Facebook platform.
Well, I had to read that headline twice, and then I had to do some further digging. The article called the ACLU a frequent thorn in the side of Facebook. I would call that a very kind description based on their history. But if it's true that the ACLU is calling out Facebook for privacy practices from one side of its mouth and then passing user information to them out of the other side of the mouth, that amounts to brand treason. Certainly, it's one of the most egregious examples of corporate inauthenticity that I'm aware of.
Well, today's roundtable discussion is part two from last week's discussion. We're going to delve deeper into the concept of loyalty. And today we're talking to two experts, Lauren Pearson, the Senior Manager of CRM and Loyalty at Route 21, and Amy Barnett, the Senior Director of Loyalty Insights and CRM at Famous Footwear. Thank you both again for joining us as we continue to pick your brains and you give us the intricacies and the secret sauce of what makes a successful loyalty program. Easy for me to say, throw a lot of tongue twisters out there, but anyway, I'm too lazy to edit that out. So Mike, why don't you go ahead and save me and ask him a good question?
So thank you both for joining this conversation. I think it's critical. I think it's essential because it's really easy to talk at a high level about what we do for a living, but it's discussions like these that I think are far more instructive, where people are willing to be a little transparent about what they've learned, the successes, some of the things they've learned the hard way. And again, we don't need to know trade secrets, and we certainly don't want to open up old wounds, but
give us trade secrets and open up new wounds. No.
Yeah, we're going to do that anyway. So in your histories as loyalty professionals, what are some of the big wins? And then on the other side, what are some of the big, let's just call them learnings over time? Amy, do you want to take the first one?
Wow, where do I start on the learnings? There's been so many. I will start on two that I think your leaders or listeners might be interested in. I would say the first one is measurement, and really making sure that in a data-led world, as we all are in, to ensure that you have the measurement techniques in place to show the incremental value that you're not only bringing to the customer, but you're bringing to the company and you're bringing to your shareholders. So I've learned over time to make sure that you have the staff and the tools and the data, cleanliness that you need in a company to have that available. The second one is top-down support. If you ever feel like you're rolling the ball up the hill, I think you should, stop and ask yourself, are you working in the right things? And I would say that the best positions I've had, the best companies, the best strategies most successes I've had have become a company-wide top-down supported initiative. So I would say those are maybe the two learnings off the top of my head, and maybe I'll come up with some successes after Lauren.
Real quick, when you said you had top-down support, did that come in the name of loyalty, or was it basically a broader customer-centric initiative to just do better with customers? I mean, did your C-level executives kind of say, Amy, we need loyalty to be leading the charge here, or was it part of something bigger?
Definitely something bigger. It starts with a customer, and it's led by insights by the customer. Again, the loyalty program and what you do for those loyal customers is definitely important. But for us, it was about, the market's changing, or consumer buying habits are changing, or her shopping patterns are changing. Especially in the day of COVID, we saw so many changes, right? And so it's a customer experience issue and a customer focused issue, not necessarily loyalty.
Gotcha. Lauren, what about you? Big successes, big learnings?
Yeah, from a learning and success perspective, I absolutely echo what Amy was saying as far as buy-in. I think that you need to have leadership bought in. And as we touched on in the previous segment, I mean, loyalty is very much a cross-functional initiative. It touches just about every single aspect of a company. So if you don't have the top-down support, if you don't have the buy-in on the value and the importance of a loyalty program across the company, you're really going to struggle to be successful and to move the needle. The other area that I found to be just a huge win, and especially for retailers who have a more traditional setup where there's brick and mortar locations in addition to online, really the field is where you're going to win. Mm-hmm. So having your associates be able to participate in the loyalty program is, to me, I personally think, very critical to achieve success with a program. And I've seen the truth in that. I mean, and it makes sense, because if you're trying to get your customer to join a loyalty program and you yourself participate in it, you're going to do a much better job at explaining the value and pitching it and being able to illustrate why it's so awesome, because you're a participant yourself. So I think that having the field bought in, getting them energized and understanding the program and seeing the payoff to them is really where you see major wins.
You both talked about the ways to have a successful loyalty program last week was through simplicity and less friction. What are some of the incentives? Is it discounts? Is it percentage off, free shipping? I mean, are there specific things that you guys can look to in your research that customers seem to gravitate towards more?
Yeah, I can kick that off. So the other success and key learning, I would say, is that the winner in every room is the person who shows up with the customer data.
Right? I'll go along with that.
Yeah. So when you really are thinking about those rewards and those benefits, spend some time doing the research and talking to your customers, both qualitatively and quantitatively, because every company has a lot of smart people, right? There's a lot of smart people, and we all have very strong opinions. But the one opinion and the smartest person in the room is the customer. So we do offer the full breadth of what you were suggesting. So in 2019, we did relaunch our program. It's a traditional points for reward program. So you come in, you buy your favorite shoes, you earn points, and then you get to come back and spend those rewards on more shoes. So what we noticed, though, was that our customer was changing, and we weren't rewarding her. We weren't, necessarily keeping her engaged in the way that she wants to stay engaged. So we did add free shipping, no threshold to our program, and it was a considerable investment. That's a major decision when your company is charging for free shipping, and then they suddenly decide to waive those shipping costs and absorb those costs as a benefit to your loyal customers. So we did make that shift along with many others and have seen very positive results. And we think, particularly coming out of this COVID pandemic, when digital behaviors have shifted so much, those program changes really set us up for success.
So if we can, let's talk a little bit about what changes you've seen in, say, the profile or maybe even brand affinity loyalty with your members, because we've done research, we've participated in research, we've reported on research that spans the entire breadth of brand loyalty held fast and nothing changed to everything changed and brand loyalty is out the window as we knew it. So what are your experiences?
I mean, one of the stats that I've heard and has been regurgitated so many times, but I think truly it is valid, is that, 80% of your revenue comes from the top 20% of your customers. And then the other one is that it's much more expensive to acquire a new customer than it is to keep one you already have. And I think both of those really tie into loyalty. So whether you have the customer who supposedly has no brand loyalty anymore and they're just going to shop wherever there's the best price, or your target customer is the one who's going to pick a favorite brand and that's the one they stick with through thick and thin, you can still lose that customer with a bad experience, and you could still keep that customer with a great one. And I think that's where offering great benefits through a loyalty program, an amazing in-store or online shopping experience, making everything very easy to navigate, removing the friction, is where you're going to win. And then again, loyalty enables you to contact that customer again and give them a reason to come back. And customers expect you to know about them, because if they're trading their personal information with you, the exchange is that they expect you're going to use that information to better serve them. So they expect you to speak to them in a way that shows that you were listening.
Amy, you have anything to add to that?
I think Lauren did a really great job with that. No, I don't.
Hey,
really
that's
have
all right.
anything.
No problem. So, and, I don't know if this is out of your scope, but, we recently, Mike and I read an article, or it's on TheCustomer, I should say, how the travel industry, right now with fuel costs, it might be harder for them to lower their costs, but so they've had to get a little more creative with some of their rewards programs, and in order to stay competitive. I mean, I apologize if I'm asking you to give another, industry or sector advice, but what would something like that look like if you can't give, a steeper discount to your A-list members? What would be some other options for the travel industry in order to retain their customers? And let's start with you, Amy.
Well, I'm an avid Southwest customer and an avid Rapid Rewards member. And I really appreciate what they've done with their customers. They really, in my opinion, and this is 20 years in the making, they really took the model and put the customer first. Now, granted, American and United and a lot of the other travel companies have very clear customer segments. And what I think Southwest did is they came in and said, there is a customer segment here that needs to be re-engineered. Let's re-envision what it means to travel with us as a company. And, the whole idea of no blackouts and, reward travel, the whole companion pass ticket is beyond, for those of you who aren't Southwest customers, you fly or you achieve a certain status, and then you can identify somebody to travel with you for free. I've known many of friends to travel a few extra segments and cities to get that companion pass benefit. Now that to me is true loyalty.
Yeah.
Somebody who's willing to just go the little extra mile for a benefit that probably doesn't cost them very much, doesn't cost the airline very much, but the perceived value could be in the thousands of dollars, for that companion pass. So I'm a big Southwest fan. I just think putting the customer first and re-engineering a process that needs to be re-engineered, especially the airline industry.
Let me take Rafer's question and maybe just twist it just a little bit.
Make it sound more intelligent, Mike.
Something like that. I don't know.
That's what Mike does. He's got the glasses.
Yeah, take the glasses off, everything falls apart. If rather than give advice to another industry, let's talk for a moment to people who might be operating in your same sector and look ahead to the next 2, 3, or 4 years out there based on what you know of customer expectations, where the trends seem to be heading. Where do you think the next big wins for your brands are going to be found over the next 2, 3, 5 years?
For me, I would say, it's not just for retail. I think it really applies across all sectors. It's what I mentioned earlier. If customers are giving you their information, they expect that you're going to use that information wisely and give them something relevant. So I think personalization, personalization, personalization is absolutely where everybody needs to win, because expectations are just being set higher and higher. I myself as a customer have high expectations. I assume that if I am spending with you and shopping and giving you my info, that you're going to know how I prefer to interact with you. You're going to know my preferred products, and you're going to give me deals, content, and messaging at the right time through the right channel, and with the right content, because otherwise, were you even paying attention?
Amy, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I can add to that. I'm also on a personalization mission here over the next few years, which sounds so much simpler on the top line than it actually is, because what's below that iceberg is a whole lot of technology and business processes to support that mission. So this is not a simple task, and you could probably host a roundtable just on personalization alone. But I do agree that privacy about what's going to hit all of us as CRM and loyalty experts in the next 2 to 3 years. Well, it's here now. I think it's going to get much more difficult and challenging for all of us to understand customer data, privacy restrictions, where the digital world is going in the third-party cookies, first-party data. There is a whole lot that we still have to learn and navigate to support that personalization mission. So I look forward to participating in your next roundtable on that.
We just got our next topic, Amy, personalization.
I think you did, actually. I think you named our
Maybe.
next topic. Because it's, well, I'll just tell you, within the content that we publish on the customer, talking about it's not just intricacies, it's the fact that all these matters are so delicate, and we're being prescribed regulations from how many different entities now that we all have to navigate. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be really difficult. So with that, maybe we'll do a round 3 of this at some point if we can get back on your schedules for both of you. But for now, I want to thank you both for attending this conversation, for giving us your insights, for being the professionals that you are, for sharing a little bit of that with us. So again, Lauren Pearson, Amy Barnett, thank you both.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.